I want you to think about this as almost an introduction to farming or a very targeted, specific version of farming that doesn't require a monthly commitment, and you can start and build this activity up over time. Welcome back to the Modern Real Estate Mama podcast, a business and marketing podcast for moms in real estate that want to build a business they love while also raising their family. If you are a mom that is in the early stages of newborn life, or you're chasing toddlers around, or maybe you're in between driving your older kids to a million sports and activities, this podcast is for you. We're going to be talking about business, marketing, and a little bit of mindset and motherhood to support you in the journey. I'm your host, Braden McKee, a boy mom of two, Phoenix, Arizona native, and full-time real estate agent for 7.5 years that is now bringing you the best content and marketing strategies to help you to market your business, market your listings, and market your communities. So grab a nice coffee or your drink of choice, whether that's a glass of wine, a margarita, we don't judge, and let's get into today's episode. All right, ladies, we're back with part 3 of our summer marketing series. And I just want to first say that I am sorry because I went MIA last week. And we're not going to go much into this, but, I had some friends that are being very suddenly relocated out of state, and they needed me to sell their house and list it very, very quickly. And I also took on 2 marketing projects last week, 2 new marketing clients, I should say. And so it ended up just being a really crazy week. And last week was supposed to be my batch recording week. And with just, the 3 things. And also I was taking my son to VBS. It ended up being too crazy. So I was like, you know what? I just am not going to get to this episode or batching this week. So I'm sorry about that, but we are back, and I'm excited because today we're talking about implementing quarterly newsletters. And how this fits into the summer marketing series is that I want you to consider starting a quarterly newsletter that you physically either send out or hand out to very specific people, either within your database or your community that you're trying to farm. So I want you to think about this as almost like an introduction to farming, but it's going to be a very specific and targeted way to farm. And your approach is going to be a little bit different. And obviously, with it being a quarterly newsletter, that will not require you to have a monthly commitment. If you want to scale up to monthly farming activities and things like that, you definitely can over time. But I want to basically introduce you to the idea of farming and doing it in a way that's manageable. I think one of the hardest parts with farming is the time commitment and the cost commitment. So if you're farming a neighborhood, you really have to be committed to farming that neighborhood for at least 1 to 2 years to really see the return. And you've got to be very consistent. You need to mail in that community at least 12 times typically to start getting that name recognition. People's brains are filled with so much distraction, and so many ads are coming at them, and so many businesses, right? Capturing attention is a huge thing right now. So you've got to be committed, and that may not be the most reasonable thing to do depending on the place in business that you're at. So I want to talk to you guys about quarterly newsletters. This is a format where you can either mail these out or you can hand them out if you're going out, and doing pop buys and things like that in the community. But I want you to consider, where you want to work, who you want to work with more, and using this as a way to keep in touch and provide some real estate information, but also some local community information. So with quarterly newsletters, the format is kind of a 3-part format. Now you can make it more than 3 parts, but you're probably going to have to go from a 1-sided paper to a 2-sided newsletter, which is fine. But the whole thing with this summer marketing series is to keep things simple and consistent. So if that is your biggest thing right now, is simple and consistent, it's a 3-part format. So the first part is 1 part real estate market update. So maybe you include a little graphic with some numbers and data, and then I want you to go below that or next to it and break it down. What does this mean? What are you seeing in the market, right? What is something that they need to know about what's going on and how it's relevant for them? So that's the first part. The second part would be community information. So you can either do a list of events, you can do a small business highlight or like a local business highlight. I don't know why that skipped my brain for a minute. Something local, something community-based that they're going to be interested in. And I want that to be the second part. So this is going to be really a way, I think, to differentiate your quarterly newsletters from other real estate mailers that they may be receiving in their mailbox every single month. And this is something that can be different every time. I mean, events are going to change. You can feature a different local business each time, like however you want to do it. There's so much that you can do here. So this is something that I really think makes this newsletter stand out a bit. And then the third part is going to be kind of like a testimonial or proof of concept. Maybe you share a recent success story of one of your clients. This is something where you kind of want to show what you're seeing in the market and like how somebody was successful and won, right? So there's 3 parts to this. Now you can add more, but again, I want you to keep it simple and consistent. And if you're not yet farming and you want to, or you want to work in certain neighborhoods and areas, I want you to use this newsletter as a way to start branching into those areas. Now, I want to talk to you about the approach to this because I was not farming a particular neighborhood when I was doing real estate full time. A lot of the neighborhoods that I was really interested in farming, first of all, had the competition that it didn't make sense for me to try to farm some of those neighborhoods. But also we have a lot of these subdivisions here that are huge. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds to a couple thousand homes. And when you are using a mailing route or you're trying to farm, and trying to hit all of those homes, the budget is, it's got to be there. It's got to be extensive. And that is just something that I wasn't super interested in spending this huge budget that was going to go all towards mailing, monthly postcards or whatever it was. And so I want to talk about how I was doing it and how you might approach it depending on what your specific goals are. So you can kind of tailor this to fit your needs and what your goals are within your database and your community that you're wanting to work. So what I was doing was I was using this as a way to physically mail to my past clients and my sphere and like my database. So anybody we had addresses for that we wanted to work. Now, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a big metro area and it's just a large area where everything is, the whole valley is really spread out. And I was primarily working like 3 to 4 main cities, trying to branch into a 5th city for a certain demographic. But like if you go drive 10 to 15 minutes, you're likely crossing through 2 to 3 of those cities. So with my clients being kind of spread throughout that main pie, if you will, pied out like section, I was including the people who I had worked with. And then as I had sales in certain areas, neighborhoods that I wanted to work more, or I would like to work more, I would add a couple of surrounding addresses per sale to my mailing list to get that quarterly newsletter. So I would have a sale and I would add like 10 people surrounding, because we know that often when you have one house that sells, there's probably a neighbor nearby. Statistically, that's what they say, right? But this was done in a way that I could manage the mailing list, and I wasn't devoting this whole entire marketing budget to just mailing, to just farming. I was incorporating this as one part of the multifaceted, approach. And I heavily focused on a digital marketing strategy, really, when it comes to marketing. That is my specialty. Online, using a combination of online and social media, right? But of course, incorporating a touch point like mailers is something that it just complements what you're already doing. So I want to go back a little bit to the format, because what I would typically do is I would include a QR code at some point in the newsletter to redirect back to something. So maybe it would be inviting them to get a current update of their home value and a market report for their neighborhood. Sometimes if I had a new listing that we were trying to market, and it was, it made sense for the people who were receiving it, I would send that out and be like, hey, if you know anybody looking to move into the area, scan this QR code for this latest listing feature. So you can kind of use this to bring attention back to your digital marketing efforts and what you're already doing there, without having to commit your entire marketing budget to farming one neighborhood and hoping and praying that after 12 months, you get the kind of return from it that you want. I'm not against farming by any means. I just think that for many, the approach and the amount of the budget that it takes sometimes doesn't make sense. And this is a way to be more targeted and specific. This is like an introduction to farming, because you can take this list and you can build it over time. You can start with the people who are going to receive this well. Unless you're brand new to an area, then of course you're probably just going to have to start with a random list. And that's okay too. You could start with a targeted list of maybe people who have been in their homes for a certain amount of time. Maybe people who have been in a 2-story home for more than 10 to 15 years. Or maybe a neighborhood that is known for people that are needing to move up because they're smaller single story homes. And, if these people are frequently moving up into bigger homes because they're having kids and they need more space or whatever it might be, you can target, use the number of mailers that you want to start sending, and you can target specific addresses, and you can get that information from your title company. They can help you to kind of target a list if you do not have a local sphere and database already established. But I like this approach because it's different than what people are already getting in the mail. A lot of people are throwing their mail away because it's just not relevant to them. And that's part of farming, is that that they may not want to see just real estate mailers every single month. So incorporating some other elements where you're talking about local businesses or local events and things to do allows it to be more personalized to an interest that they have in their community. Now, if you don't want to do every single time a proof of concept or a recent sale or something like that kind of section, you could also do community updates like, is something new being built? Are they going to be working on the roads soon? Are they going to be holding a hearing to, do something for like the school budget? You can incorporate more of those community interest types of topics to make it highly relevant to the people who are going to be receiving this newsletter. And the great thing is that you could work on this newsletter for the next couple of weeks and have it ready to send out to your list the first week in July. And then now you've got your first thing out in July. You can prepare and have your next one ready to go in November. And so you're getting ahead of the holidays. You're, adding on to what you're doing. And the idea here with this series is kind of that it builds so that you can start being more consistent with social. You can start your email, and then you start this newsletter that's a printed thing that people are going to receive in the mail. And it's like, wow, we're seeing Jen everywhere. Like, she is doing so great. We're seeing her everywhere. That's what you want. You want people to be thinking that they're seeing you everywhere and that you're so busy doing so much real estate. That is exactly what you want. Whether you have the number of deals you want yet or not, it doesn't matter. You want them to know and see you and know you for real estate because they see you all over the place. And so that's the idea here. The other thing I like about the quarterly newsletter is, of course, you're going to put your information and your photo, like your branding, on the bottom of it, but you can also have a lot of fun. You can do colors and fonts. Make it readable, but you can incorporate your branding, or you can incorporate seasonal branding. And this is something where, again, you can stand out from what they're receiving in the mail every single month, especially from other agents. If they're getting other agents' mailers and all they're getting is just listed or just sold, not that that's bad. I do those things too. When I have a listing, I'm going to send out a just listed. I'm going to send out a just sold, right? But you want to differentiate yourself, and that's what you're doing. And so doing this is a highly targeted and specific way to introducing yourself to farming. Now, if you don't want to mail these out, you can incorporate this. Let's say you're doing pot buys occasionally. You can incorporate this into your pot buys, or you can do it separate. So if you want to do pot buys 1 month, and we're going to talk about pot buys or like gifting little things next week for part 4 of this series. But if you don't want to do it through the mail, you could drop it off on people's doors. It just depends on what you want and who you're sending this newsletter to. So that is part 3, is starting a quarterly newsletter. I think this is totally doable and manageable for summer. And if you have kids, especially if you're mailing and you're needing to address labels, and you can print out labels and then have them help you fold these newsletters into the envelopes and put the label stickers on the envelopes, or even delivering. This is a great way to incorporate the kids if they're old enough to help you out and incorporate them. It doesn't have to be boring. Make it fun. Now, if you need a template to make this easier that you can just fill out, you don't have to worry about formatting and putting it together, please let me know. I do have a template that I can provide, and that would be very low cost. Like I think I would literally do like $5 for that just to make it easier on you. I don't have it publicly for sale, but if it's something that you want, you can always just DM me on Instagram, or you could email me directly, and I can just put up a listing real quick and get that out. And that way it can be done. You don't have to worry about it. And then you can just brand it, put in your information, colors, fonts, all of that. On that note, I do want to announce that I'm launching a template today for an open house kit. This is a template bundle that includes social media posts, a Facebook event cover, a flyer, an invite template for the neighbors, and then a listing, just a general listing flyer as well, so that you can market your listings and new open houses that you're marketing in a way where it's very cohesive. There's also a feedback and template and a sign-in form template that you can change out a little bit, but it has questions. And this is something that you can use. So that link is going to be listed in the show notes. And this is a template that you buy once. You can use it over and over again, and you can customize it with the listing and property photos, your information, your branding, but have it be very cohesive and put together. So if you want to level up your open house, or if you're launching a new listing with an open house marketing, this is a great thing to do. Now, this is something that I've been doing for other agents in my office. I've been doing this like done for you service of putting together this bundle of marketing materials and everything. But now I'm offering the template for you. If you're somebody who does not do well with like Canva and putting together your marketing materials and you want it done for you, I do have that as an option. But if you're somebody who's like, I don't really need it done for me, I just don't like having to try to figure out and like put together this whole package every single time I have an open house, this would be a great option for you. So that's going to be in the show notes. I'm super excited about that open house template pack. And of course, I'm really excited about finishing up this summer marketing series. I hope that this has been valuable for you. And I'm really excited to see how you have used this to build on each other. This whole series has been meant to build on what you're doing, piece by piece, to layer it, add it together to form this whole cohesive strategy where people are going to be seeing you in multiple locations. And it's like, hey, I saw you on Instagram. Oh, I'm seeing your emails. Oh, I'm seeing your newsletters, right? And it's like, they think you're everywhere, and that's exactly what you want. So I'm excited to see how you implement this and how this helps you to build momentum leading out from summer and going into, the fall season and the holidays. Of course, if you're enjoying this podcast, I would love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating and a quick written review. That helps the podcast algorithms push it out to the right audience. And I'm just really excited to see how your summers are going and how this marketing series has impacted you. You can connect with us on Instagram or our Facebook group at The Modern Real Estate Mama on both of those. I hope you have a great day and that you're having a great summer with your family, friends, and your community.